You ever have one of those déjà vu moments that feels a little too real? Or that weird feeling where time just seems to stutter for a second? We all kind of live our lives by the clock, right? We assume time just flows in one straight line. But what if it doesn't? What if, every now and then, it glitches, it loops, or maybe it even tears open just enough for someone to get a peek at what's coming next? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but this question, it's at the very heart of some of the most bizarre and, surprisingly well-documented stories out there. These aren't just campfire tales. They are accounts from really credible people who swear they experienced something that, well, it should be totally impossible. So, let's dive into one of the most famous cases of all time. Our story starts back in 1935 with a guy named Air Marshal Sir Victor Goddard. Now, this was a high-ranking officer in the British Royal Air Force, a man of logic, of discipline, not someone you'd expect to be making up wild stories. But one single routine flight was about to challenge everything he thought he knew about the world. Okay, so picture this. It's 1935, and Goddard is flying over an old abandoned airfield in Drem, Scotland. And it's exactly what you'd expect. It's totally derelict. Runways cracked, hangars falling apart, weeds everywhere. There are even cows grazing where the planes used to be. Standard stuff. But then, things get weird. He flies into this bizarre, thick, yellow storm cloud that just looks unnatural. His engine stalls, and when he comes out the other side into bright sunshine, there's Drum Airfield below him again. Only it's not the same. Not the same at all. What he saw was impossible. The airfield wasn't abandoned anymore. It was brand new, fully operational, and just bustling with activity. He saw mechanics in blue overalls, which was weird because the RAF uniform at the time was brown. He saw 4 planes on the runway painted this bright, unfamiliar yellow. He recognized 3 of them, but the 4th? It was a monoplane model he'd never seen in his life, an aircraft the RAF just did not have. Nothing about it made any sense. Goddard was, understandably, completely shaken. He kept the story to himself for years, probably worried his superiors would think he'd lost his mind. But then, 1939 rolls around, and suddenly, reality starts to look a lot like his strange vision. The Royal Air Force officially reopened that same Drum Airfield. They started painting their training planes yellow for the very first time. The mechanics' uniforms were changed from brown to blue. And then, the final piece of the puzzle. The RAF introduced a new training plane, the Miles Magister. It was a perfect match for the strange monoplane Goddard had seen 4 years earlier. Now, Sir Victor Goddard's experience, as absolutely wild as it sounds, isn't a one-off. It actually belongs to this whole category of bizarre phenomena that just completely mess with our understanding of time. These events have a name. They're often called time slips. So what is a time slip? Well, you can also call it a time displacement experience. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's when a person, or sometimes a whole group of people, spontaneously and totally by accident finds themselves experiencing a different time period. We're not talking about a time machine here. We're talking about reality itself, just bending for a moment and pulling someone into the past or shoving them into the future. So the big question is, how do you even begin to sort through these stories? How do you separate a really convincing account from, just a vivid dream or a tall tale? Well, that is a huge challenge. But the source material for this explainer actually put together a whole framework to analyze these incredible claims and give them a kind of credibility score. To do this, researchers sifted through and analyzed a whopping 122 alleged cases of time slips. They pulled them from public records, from online forums, historical accounts, you name it. The goal wasn't to prove if they were real or not, but to figure out which stories were the most consistent, the most detailed, and the most credible. And this credibility score was based on 5 key things. First, was the story ever investigated by experts? Second, how many people saw it? One person's story is one thing, but an experience shared by a whole group is a lot harder to just brush off. Third, was the person telling the story credible themselves? Fourth, were the details historically accurate? And finally, did the story change over time, or did it stay consistent every time it was told? Okay, so with that framework in mind, let's look at 2 very different cases from this database. One is this really personal, disorienting story that, it scores pretty low on the credibility scale, but it is deeply creepy. The other is a high-scoring case that's just baffling, involving multiple witnesses and actual physical evidence. This one comes from a student. He said his mom woke him up at 6:45 a.m. like usual. He got in the shower, got dressed, and ran out the door at 7:23 a.m. to catch the bus. But when he got to the bus stop, the street was totally empty. No cars, no other students, just quiet. So confused, he pulls out his phone to call his dad, and the time says 4:03 a.m. He and his mom had somehow lived through almost the same 3 hours, twice. It's totally unverifiable, of course, but man, what a chilling thought. And while stories like that are fascinating food for thought, some cases, they're just on another level. They're backed by multiple, credible witnesses and physical data that make them almost impossible to ignore. And for that, we have to go to a remote desert in Chile. So it's April 25th, 1977. Corporal Armando Valdez is leading a small army patrol out in the Chilean desert. It's about 4 a.m. when his squad sees this big, glowing object come down from the sky. Valdez, being the squad leader, tells his men to take cover while he cautiously goes to check it out. As he gets closer, the sphere of light gets brighter and brighter, and then, in a flash, both he and the light were just gone, vanished. His squad was terrified. They waited, weapons at the ready. About 15 minutes go by, and then suddenly, Valdez just reappears in the exact same spot he vanished from and collapses. But here is where the story goes from strange to completely unbelievable. For his squad, only 15 minutes had passed, but for Valdez, he had a 5-day beard growth on his face, and even crazier, the calendar on his digital watch had jumped ahead 5 full days to April 30th. He had somehow lived through 5 days while the rest of the world only experienced 15 minutes. This wasn't just a confusing memory, this was a physical paradox. So, we've got a glimpse of the future, a case of lost or maybe gained time. When we zoom out and look at all 122 cases from the database, what does the big picture tell us? Are there any patterns here? What do these alleged time slips really look like when you see them all together? Well, looking at the data, the most common experience by far, at 39%, is being fully transported to the past. Trips to the future, or just seeing a future event like Sir Victor Goddard did, are actually much more rare. It seems like if these glitches do happen, they're more likely to show us what's already been, rather than what's yet to come. And about a quarter of all cases fall into this other category, things like weird time loops, or those periods of lost time, just like Corporal Valdez experienced. And where in the world are these things happening? This data is actually pretty surprising. While you see cases from all over, there is a massive concentration of reports coming out of the United Kingdom, way more than any other country. The US comes in a distant second. Now, why the UK would be such a hotspot for these kinds of experiences, well, that is a whole mystery in itself. Is it something cultural, something about the history there, or is something else entirely going on? So, after looking at all this, we're left with this one huge fundamental question that really gets to the core of everything we think we know. Are these compelling, detailed stories just powerful, elaborate glitches in our own memories and perceptions? Or are we sometimes seeing something far stranger? Something like genuine, inexplicable glitches in the very fabric of time itself? For now, the answer is still just out of reach.